Hello, I'm Raymond Go, and this is Nightline. News making the headlines. Malaysians among the most satisfied by government's COVID-19 efforts. And Hari Raya visit within same state allowed, capped at 20 people. Good morning. Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin on Sunday commended the country for ranking 4th in the world out of 105 countries in terms of people's satisfaction with the government's efforts in dealing with the COVID-19 outbreak. The Prime Minister said this achievement was reported in a study done by a research agency based in Singapore. In his address to the nation on Sunday, Tan Sri Muhyiddin said the success would not be possible without the hard work and sacrifices of healthcare workers nationwide.
Jadi sekali lagi saya nak mengucapkan terima kasih dan tahniah kepada semua petugas barisan hadapan yang telah banyak berkorban sepanjang tempoh 2-3 bulan ini untuk memastikan semua rakyat Malaysia terselamat daripada wabak COVID-19. Saya juga nak merakamkan ucapan terima kasih kepada saudara-saudari sekalian seluruh rakyat Malaysia dari Perlis hinggalah ke Sabah yang sentiasa berdisiplin untuk mematuhi arahan PKP dan PKPB sehingga memudahkan para petugas barisan hadapan kita menangani krisis ini.
He said the people's compliance and healthcare workers' efforts throughout the MCO and CMCO had made it possible to turn almost all sub-districts into green zones. He said these green zones did not record any new positive COVID-19 cases in the past 2 weeks. Out of 1,178 sub-districts, divisions, zones, subzones and precincts nationwide, 1,112 or 94.4% are categorized as green, while 62 or 5.2% are yellow. Only 4 or 0.34% are still marked as red zones, which recorded more than 40 positive COVID-19 cases. Tan Sri Muhyiddin also advised residents in the red zones to be cautious when they leave their homes and always keep in mind the practice of social distancing, to wear face masks, keep their hands clean and cut down on outdoor activities. Those living outside the red zones should refrain from visiting these areas. He also added that residents in the green zones must not feel they were safe and free to move around, thinking that they would not contract the virus. The Conditional Movement Control Order, CMCO, has been extended again, this time for 4 weeks until June the 9th. The announcement by the Prime Minister meant that interstate travel to hometowns and villages for the upcoming Aidilfitri celebration will not be allowed. Tan Sri Muhyiddin said the extension was made on the advice of the Health Ministry and the National Security Council to prevent the further spread of the COVID-19 virus. The move means that all regulations and standard operating procedures, SOPs, implemented under the current CMCO will remain in force until June 9th. This as the CMCO period coincided with several major festivals, which usually involved mass movements of people.
Minta maaflah banyak-banyak dan saya mohon ampun demi untuk menjaga keselamatan dan kesihatan kita semua. Perjalanan balik kampung merentas sempadan negeri untuk tujuan berhari raya tidak dibenarkan. Saya tahulah ramai yang agak sedih tak dapat balik berhari raya di kampung bersama keluarga. Bersabarlah. Bila keadaan kembali pulih sedikit masa lagi, saudara-saudari bolehlah balik ke kampung halaman menziarahi ibu bapa dan sanak saudara.
However, he added that Aidilfitri, Pesta Keamatan or Hari Gawai can still be celebrated by making visits to close neighbours and family members staying in the same state. This is subject to a maximum of 20 people at one time, while big feasts or open houses cannot be held. Every family must also observe health SOP like social distancing, wearing face masks and using hand sanitizers when celebrating the festivals. This is the 5th time the government extended its movement restriction measures since first implementing it on March 18th. It had earlier implemented the CMCO from May 4th to 12th to allow most economic and social sectors to reopen. Tan Sri Muhyiddin also did not rule out the possibility of enforcing the enhanced movement control order in areas with rising cases of COVID-19 during the CMCO period. Due to this, he advised the people against becoming complacent, as the country is not out of danger yet. The Prime Minister said it is estimated that 6.64 million, or 43.6% of the nation's total workforce, have returned to work following the reopening of most economic sectors by the government. Despite this, he reminded the public to adhere to SOPs closely, as the country is still under the CMCO, and the result of this will only be known in the next few weeks.
Dengan jumlah orang ramai yang mula keluar dari rumah untuk bekerja semakin meningkat, risiko jangkitan juga turut meningkat. Jadi beberapa minggu ke hadapan ini agak kritikal bagi kita.
He added the people living in the green zones also should not think they are safe and can move freely, as the coronavirus is an invisible enemy that can strike anywhere and any time. Now, an exception has been given to married couples living apart in different states to travel interstate to meet their family during the CMCO. According to the Prime Minister, the decision was made after considering that there are couples who can't stay together due to work.
Oleh kerana larangan perjalanan rentas sepadan negeri, ada suami yang dah tak jumpa anak dan isteri selama lebih 2 bulan. Jadi saya nak mengumumkan, kita berikan kelonggaran pada pasangan suami atau isteri ini.
Those concerned could apply for the interstate travel through the Gerak Malaysia application or at the nearest police station. The period for appeals for Bantuan Prihatin Nasional BPN aid has been extended to May 31st. Apart from sending an appeal through email, those whose applications were rejected can go to any Inland Revenue Board LHDN counter to make the appeal starting Monday.
Saya tak berjanji semua rayuan boleh diluluskan, tetapi mana-mana rayuan yang memenuhi syarat dan munasabah, insya-Allah boleh diluluskan.
As of Saturday, the government had approved 2.3 million applications for the BPN aid, including new applications and appeals involving an allocation of 1.7 billion ringgit. The government's targeted approach testing method to deal with the COVID-19 outbreak in the country has been successful. Health Director General Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said the approach has proven positive in detecting COVID-19 cases. Therefore, he said the public need not worry about the daily new COVID-19 positive cases following the government's aggressive and proactive case tracing and detection. Dr. Noor Hisham said as of May 10th, the Health Ministry had identified several target groups using this testing method. This, he said, included participants of the Sri Petaling Tabligh gathering and their close contacts, students and staff of the madrasah and tafiz linked to the Tabligh gathering, and the ministry's health personnel. The method, he said, was also used in detecting COVID-19 positive cases among Malaysians returning from overseas and being housed in quarantine centres, residents at zones or areas under the Enhanced Movement Control Order, and workers and traders at the Kuala Lumpur wholesale market and markets in the area. Dr. Noor Hisham said he's hopeful that with the new conditional MCO enforced, the country will see new COVID-19 positive cases drop to single digits in 1 or 2 weeks' time.
Sekarang ni setakat ni kita baru minggu pertama, mungkin dalam seminggu lagi seminggu dua kita akan lihat perkembangan terkini, iaitu kaedah baru iaitu PKPB, sama ada impak yang tinggi, iaitu dapat kita menurunkan kes seterusnya hingga mencapai kawalan penularan COVID-19 dalam masyarakat kita. Jadi
Meanwhile, no COVID-19 fatalities were reported in Malaysia on Sunday, keeping the death toll at 108 or 1.62% of the total number of positive cases. Dato Dr. Noor Hisham said the new cases reported showed a slight increase at 67 compared to Saturday, with 49 cases being detected among foreigners.
Ini menjadikan jumlah kes positif COVID-19 di Malaysia adalah sebanyak 6,656 kes. Oleh itu, jumlah kes aktif dengan boleh jangkitan COVID-19 adalah 1,525 kes dan mereka telah diasingkan dan beri rawatan di hospital.
He said the number of patients who have recovered daily continued to outstrip new cases, with 96 being discharged on Sunday, to bring the cumulative figure of recoveries to 5,025. Dr. Noor Hisham said 18 patients are still being treated in the intensive care unit, with 6 requiring ventilator support. On another issue, Dr. Noor Hisham said it will take the Health Ministry 10 days to do an active case investigation in the areas surrounding the Jalan Othman Market in Petaling Jaya, Selangor. Dr. Noor Hisham said everyone in the area will be screened, whether they were Malaysians or foreigners.
We advise the residents in that area to stay at home, make sure that we protect the elderly, and hopefully that by doing this active case detection and screening and also the testing, which could actually identify the positive cases among the residents there. So once we identify, then we will isolate them and then treat them in the hospital. And if there's a positive case, then we must identify the close contact. And the close contact will be quarantined in our quarantine center. So that is our action plan.
The area has been put under the enhanced movement control order effective Sunday until May 23rd, after 27 COVID-19 cases were detected in the area. Meanwhile, residents around the Jalan Othman Market began undergoing COVID-19 screening at about 4 p.m. on Sunday. A brief survey found that Ministry of Health personnel began setting up the screening centres as early as 1 p.m. and about 2,900 residents are expected to be tested over the next 5 days. Senior Minister for Security Cluster Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the 34 hectares area is divided into 3 zones, A, B and C. There are 439 homes with 2,900 residents, including foreigners. Health officers, assisted by the Petaling Jaya City Council MBPJ, will be bringing residents to the testing centre at each zone to be tested. They will also be conducting home-to-home testing for senior citizens. Residents in the EMCO area can contact the command centre or the Petaling Jaya Police District Headquarters for more information with the numbers shown on screen. Meanwhile, police arrested 5 individuals for violating the EMCO in the area on Sunday. Petaling Jaya District Police Chief ACP Nik Ezani Muhammad Faisal said one of them, in his 30s, was found to be driving a lorry under the influence of alcohol near the market at midnight. 4 others were arrested for trying to flee from the EMCO area. The majority of the residents in the EMCO area surrounding Jalan Othman Market are senior citizens, with 20% of them foreigners who work in the market, nearby factories and shops. Bukit Gasing Assemblyman Rajiv Rishakaran said residents in the area had expected the EMCO, as the authorities had been making preparations for it since last Thursday. Some of the residents who are traders had expressed their disappointment at the loss of income just 2 weeks after they were allowed to work again.
I think majority are okay. We've been coordinating with JKM since the start of the lockdown from last night and this morning and throughout the day today to ensure that the food baskets could reach every house. There are some houses with some people living in rented rooms without cooking facilities. So this is a challenge that we're working with JKM to overcome. Those who need certain medicines or special dietary concerns, they can contact us. We are working to get those things to them. And there are some who need to visit dialysis centers. So the police today has allowed those who need to go for dialysis to still get their treatment.
Residents in the EMCO area who are in need of supplies can contact the EMCO Command Center or Rajiv's office. Fatal crash victims found hours later. This and more after the breather. Welcome back. Two siblings had to endure nearly 12 hours of pain before being rescued after they were involved in a road accident that claimed the lives of their parents in Kulai, Johor. The incident occurred on the North-South Expressway around 11 p.m. Saturday night, but it was only discovered on Sunday. It was believed that a burst tire caused the Toyota Caldina the family was travelling in to skid about 100 metres from the roadside before the vehicle hit a tree. The couple, Harry Muhammad Ali and his wife, Khairunisa Azman, aged 43 and 34 respectively, were pinned in the MPV and died at the scene. Their sons, Anas Ayash, aged 6, and 4-year-old Ahmad Huzaifa sustained injuries after they were thrown out of the vehicle. Road users did not notice the crash as it was quite far from the expressway. Highway workers only stumbled upon the wreckage at about 10:40 a.m. on Sunday, and the two boys were rushed to Kulai Hospital for treatment. Their parents' bodies were also taken to the same hospital for post-mortem. Radio DJ and actor Patrick Teo has been remanded for 3 days to assist investigations for allegedly insulting Johor Crown Prince Tunku Ismail Sultan Ibrahim. Johor Police Chief Dato' Ayub Khan Maidin Pichai said Teo has been remanded until May 12th. The 73-year-old radio personality was arrested in Petaling Jaya, Selangor on Saturday and then transferred to the Johor Bahru Selatan Police District headquarters to be remanded. His lawyer, Datuk Sri Rajan Navaratnam, said his client had allegedly reshared an old video of Tunku Ismail and others dressed in military fatigues and handling firearms that were posted last year. The case is being investigated under Section 233 of the Communications and Multimedia Act, which carries a maximum fine of 50,000 ringgit or a jail term not exceeding 1 year or both. Three key U.S. coronavirus officials in self-quarantine. The details when we come back. On to the foreign front now. Singapore confirmed 876 new cases of COVID-19 as of Sunday, bringing the total count in Singapore to 23,336. Its health ministry, in releasing its preliminary figures, showed work permit holders residing in foreign worker dormitories continue to make the bulk of the new cases, while only 3 of the new cases were Singaporeans and permanent residents. So far, 20 people have died from COVID-19 complications in Singapore, and 6 others who tested positive have died from other causes. The Republic has currently identified more than 90 clusters, while its largest cluster, S11 dormitory at Punggol, has 2,545 confirmed cases. In another development, Singapore Airlines SIA and Silk Air flights have imposed new rule measures that require all passengers to bring their own masks and wear it throughout the flight starting Sunday. South Korea reported 34 new coronavirus cases on Sunday, the highest daily number in a month, after a small outbreak emerged around a slew of nightclubs that a confirmed patient had visited. According to the Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, KCDC, 26 were domestically transmitted infections and 8 were imported cases. It is understood that 14 of the 26 new local cases were reported from Seoul, where clubs and bars had been ordered to shut by the authorities starting Saturday. Seoul city officials said they have a list of about 1,500 people who have gone to the clubs, and authorities have asked anyone who was there last weekend to self-isolate for 14 days and be tested. In the United States, top infectious diseases expert Dr. Anthony Fauci is among 3 members of the White House's COVID-19 coronavirus task force who will self-isolate after low-risk exposure to a White House aide who tested positive for coronavirus. According to officials, Fauci is expected to work mostly from home, but may go into his office while observing social distancing and wearing a face mask. It was understood that the other 2 members were the Director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Robert Redfield, and the Commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration, Stephen Hahn. Officials, however, have not revealed the identity of the COVID-19 positive individual in contact with the task force. Earlier in the week, U.S. President Donald Trump announced plans to shut down the highly visible task force, only to backtrack 1 day later. Meanwhile, Indonesia reported 14 new deaths and 387 new confirmed cases on Sunday, taking the total death toll to 973 and total number of cases to 14,032. According to its health ministry official, Yurianto, as many as 91 more people have been discharged from hospitals after their recoveries, taking the total number of recovered patients to 2,698. Over in Australia, 10 people have been arrested and a police officer injured during an anti-lockdown demonstration at the Parliament in Melbourne. Australia's Chief Medical Officer, Professor Brendan Murphy, has called for the protesters to be held to account, describing claims from some at the rally that 5G mobile phone technology was related to the pandemic as nonsense. In Europe, Spain's daily death toll from the coronavirus fell to 143 on Sunday, down from 179 the previous day, marking the lowest daily death toll since mid-March. This brings the overall deaths to 26,621, while the number of diagnosed cases rose to 224,390 after 1,880 new cases were detected. German football's return suffers setback. Stay tuned. Sports now. Germany's plans to restart competitive football next Saturday suffered an early setback after the entire team of second-tier Dynamo Dresden were placed on a 2-week quarantine. This was after 2 more of its players were tested positive for COVID-19 following a 3rd round of tests on Friday. According to the Bundesliga 2 club on their website, this brings the total number of confirmed cases to 3, after one of its players had already tested positive in a first wave of tests last weekend. The club also said that they are in contact with the responsible health authority and the German Football League to coordinate all further steps. This means that the team will likely not be able to play in their scheduled game against Hanover next Sunday. Given the length of the quarantine, Dresden could also miss up to 3 of their final 9 matches of the season. The setback comes just 3 days after Chancellor Angela Merkel's government gave the German Football League the green light to return to action on May 16th after a 2-month absence. Now let's take a look at the highlights in Malaysia's main newspapers for Monday, May 11th. The New Straits Times and Berita Harian both highlight the extension of the conditional MCO until June 9th. The nation's best-selling Malay newspaper, Harian Metro, meanwhile, focuses on the no balik kampung travel allowed for Hari Raya. Do get your copies today or subscribe to the e-paper. Now, a mother's love is the purest form of love on earth. She is the child's first teacher, biggest supporter, and the biggest cheerleader. As we wrap up tonight's bulletin, the Nightline team would like to take this moment to wish Happy Mother's Day to all mothers out there. To the world, you are a mother, but to your family, you are the world. I'm Raymond Goh. Thank you for tuning in and take care.